Hello, everybody. Welcome to the latest episode of FPL Affairs, the podcast that discusses our 9-month-long love affair with FPL, including the ins and outs that keep us awake at night. In the latest of our Idiot's Guide videos, we discuss the wildcard chip, what it is, when it's best to use it in the last 9 game weeks of the season, and we finish with our players shortlist, position by position, if you're choosing to wildcard in game week 30 or 31. Before we get started, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel for all our existing videos, and more content which is on the way weekly by the end of the season. Anyway, all that's left to say is, let's get cracking.
And there's Mo Salah. There goes Haaland. He's on his way again. He's hungry. He's scored. Ice cold precision from Palmer. Oh, Saka! That is a diamond of a goal.
Alright, lads and lasses, welcome to our newest video with me, Matt, aka the FPL Affairs veteran, and accompanied as always with Jack, aka the Master. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. You?
Right, not too bad. We'll discuss all my ups and downs in our other videos this week, but this one we are concentrating on, as we are the FPL Affairs idiots, the Idiot's Guide to Wildcarding, as lots of people have either got theirs activated this week or thinking about it next week and when else. So, the Idiot's Guide to Wildcarding. So the wildcard chip, what is it? Well, we have 2 of these in a season. The first is available in game weeks 1 to 19, and the second is available in game weeks 20 to 38. And each of those chips can only be used once. And once it's activated, you cannot deactivate it. Hence why you get the warning message across the top. Anyway, the wildcard chip allows you to make unlimited transfers for the chosen game week only. When the deadline to that game week hits, your wildcard choices at that point become permanent, and it is your team going forward.
Okay, so looking ahead for the rest of this season and the remaining schedule, obviously we've just had game week 29, which was the blank game week. And looking forward, we have a normal week in game week 30, a normal week in game week 31. We have a double game week for Newcastle and Crystal Palace in game week 32. Game week 33 is looking likely to be a double game week. It's not confirmed as of yet, but basically the players that make it through to the FA Cup semi-finals will be blanking in game week 34, and currently those teams are their fixtures are likely to be moved ahead to game week 33. There is also then a normal game week in 35, then a small double in game week 36 based on the cup again, and then a normal week in 37 and a normal week in game week 38. There is a little side note there that further blanks can occur due to unforeseen circumstances. For example, the storm that saw the Merseyside derby called.
Yeah, the other thing which I think Jack missed, game week 30 is a midweek game week, and that the deadline for that is Tuesday evening, only 2 days.
Turnover between 30 and 31, isn't it? Very quick.
Yeah, with both. Okay, so Jack mentioned in the remaining schedule about double 33 and blank 34. Game week 34 clashes with the FA Cup semi-finals, and those semi-finalists and their scheduled opponents will blank, and fixtures are likely to be moved forward either into game week 33, as Jack mentioned. Alternatively, they might get pushed back to game week 36. A lot of that depends on involvement of the teams in Europe. Please note that those teams doubling in 33 will be the same teams that blank in 34. So therefore, you'll need to use a chip to change your squad quickly. We spoke about free hit as an option, but we're going to concentrate mostly on people using their wildcard either in advance of the double or to use it in blank 34.
So, chip. When's best to use it? Depending on how your team looks and what chips you have remaining. Right now, it's looking likely that the best strategy would be between game week 30 and 32. This resets your squad if you've navigated through blank game week 29, like Matt, for example, without using a chip. Sets your team up to use other chips in double game week 32, i.e. getting in players from Palace and Newcastle, and also the predicted double in 33. Game week 34 is likely the best option if you've used your free hit in game week 29, as teams that are predicted to double in 33 will be the same that blank in 34. So all that means is just that if you use your free hit in game week 29, you will probably transfer players into your team that are going to double in 32 and 33, and then wildcard out of it in game week 34.
So some people, I know the leader of the admin group has currently got his wildcard activated. So, but a lot of debate is going into whether to wildcard in 30 or 31. And really it depends on how your team is looking for the fixtures of game week 30 and also what chips you have remaining. So thinking specifically about game week 30, pro of going in game week 30 is it enables you to get ahead of the curve before price changes, notably with those Palace and Newcastle assets who double in 32. And also when the game week 30 deadline hits, we'll know who the FA Cup semi-finalists are. However, cons of playing in 30 is that although we'll know the semi-finalists, this is only 48 hours before the game week 30 deadline, so it's therefore highly unlikely that we will be informed of the rescheduled dates that confirm the game week 34 fixtures that would need moving.
Okay, so game week 31. Depends on how your team is looking and what chips you have remaining. So, pro of going in game week 31, we should know which teams blank in 34, and we should also know which game week they'll be moved to. So the difference between 30 and 31 is that if what we will know which teams will be blanking in 34 before the deadline of game week 30, but we won't know when their fixture will be moved, and we're hoping that between 30 and 31, that's when the Premier League will announce when those fixtures will be moved. So you'll have all the information at that point to make the best decisions moving forward. Con of that is that you could miss points from those players that you like who have good fixtures in game week 30. And again, going back to the previous slide, prices may increase and you might be priced out of moves that you would have been able to do in 30 that you now can't do in 31. Based on price changes.
Okay, so what we're going to look at now is, because 30 and 31 is a big topic conversation, it largely depends on those differences of information and finances. We've put together a player shortlist, so it's not an exact 15 as if we were wildcarding in game week 30, or a 15 if we were wildcarding in 31. Those we'll do in our game week preview videos coming up before those weeks. But what we've done, we've created a shortlist position by position of what sort of players should either generate the core of your side and which players to consider, whether that with particular clubs it will make more sense when we move on to it. So we've started off with the shortlist, goalkeepers and defenders, and certainly for me, as I'm currently looking at wildcarding in 31, is I want to try and cover quite a lot of the defences particularly the stronger ones and the ones that have got good fixtures as well. So on my watch list are really for goalkeepers Nick Pope and Newcastle, because they double in 32. Sells of Forest, because Forest potentially double because of the cup result, and also Forest are one of the best defences in the league. Henderson, if you're looking at potentially doubling up with Crystal Palace, as they could have a double-double in 32 and 33. Raya has Arsenal, are again one of the best defences in the league. So those are, we think personally, would be main sort of 4 first choice goalkeepers. And then second after that is Sarr of Wolves, because Wolves have got a really good run. And also Areola, because he's cheap. And if you've got your bench boost and you're thinking of playing it in double game week 33, West Ham have Southampton at home, I believe. Defenders, first and second really. Munoz for Crystal Palace is a no-brainer, because he's pretty much playing as a winger, as an attacker at the moment for Crystal Palace, and especially if they have a double-double. The second must for us is an Arsenal defender. You go more template with Gabriel, or look at Saliba or even Timber. Defenders 3 and 4 is choose from Forest, so Aina, Milenkovic or Williams, depending on what your budget bracket is. From Newcastle, saying as a Newcastle fan, Burn or Livramento. Bournemouth, Hyson or Kirkes. And I've added Gvardiol on there as well, particularly if Man City are going to double. And I'd certainly think if you're wildcarding in 30, if Man City are going to double, and they've also, further down the line, how they've got Leicester at home in 30. And then the fifth defender, 8 Nuri, another differential, or another one from Forest, Newcastle or Bournemouth. Now, my final comment before I ask for Jack's thoughts really is, personally, depending which goalkeeper I choose will determine the part of the defenders. So, for example, if I decide to go with Pope in goal, I won't choose a Newcastle defender. If I go for Sells in goal, probably won't go for a Forest defender. I'll go for a Newcastle defender instead. I don't think I'll go Henderson, because I'll be covering Palace defence with Munoz, and I don't want to double up on them. So that's kind of where I'm thinking for goalkeeper and defenders. Just try to cover lots of defences by the different combinations you can get. Jack, your thoughts?
I think Vardiol is probably a must-have defender based on the likelihood of City double. Obviously, I totally agree. Munoz is a first name on the team sheet, as is probably a Vardiol and a Gabriel. I think you could probably get away with a double Newcastle defence or a double Arsenal defence. I agree with your point from a Palace point of view, because there are better options like a Sarr and a Mateta, which we're about to move on to anyway. Same with Forest, really. You're going to have Sells. See, I don't know. I think there is that many good options there that you don't need a double up. There are enough options. There are enough Forest assets. There are enough Palace assets, Newcastle, Arsenal. They've all got enough options for you to just mix and match in between and minimise the risk of a total wipeout. However, if, for example, Arsenal were to have a nice run of fixtures, or Newcastle, for example, were to have a nice run of fixtures for the rest of the season or for a short period of time, then like a Pope and a Livramento or a Burn with his set-piece threat or something like that might be a nice differential. But it depends on how much risk you want to take, really. And it also depends on team value, because if you're going to have like Raya and Munoz and Gabriel and Nardial. Do you see what I mean? And then you end up just going into mega money at the back. To do with team value, really. But if I was choosing anything, I would probably have Pope and Sarr. I'd have Munoz, Gabriel, Vardiol, Livramento, and Williams. Maybe Kirk, maybe Howson over Williams. Don't know.
That's that will leave for when we actually finalise and reach our decisions. These are just largely our shortlists.
We're recording on Sunday, aren't we? And we're going to do our Game Week 30 Wildcard draft.
Yep.
So for anybody that wants to watch that, I suppose you'll see what our 15 is.
Yep. Let's move on to the midfield and forwards. I think each have got a must-have and some a bit more obvious, clearer for it.
Yeah, so midfielders. Obviously Salah. I have seen quite a few drafts without him in it. There are a lot of people that might go without him for a short term and look to bring him back in. But I think he's a must. He's definitely staying in my team. Midfielder 2 is an interesting one. You've got Palmer with some decent fixtures coming up, who's obviously massively out of form. You've got Fernandes, who's the opposite, who's got some difficult fixtures coming up. Obviously that, and obviously Palmer's flagged, and he's very much in form, Fernandes. And then you've got Saka, who has been out for a while, injured, coming back in. Obviously, I mean, Arteta would play him with one leg if he could, so chances are he's going to start every game for the rest of the season. But is he going to recapture his form before he got injured? Are Arsenal going to sort of bottom out at the top 4 and sort of not push forward? That one's a bit of an unknown entity, but I agree that probably those 3 are standout options. Midfielder 3 is obviously probably best to be a Palace midfielder, and 2 options are Sarr or Eze. Again, it depends on team structure and your value. Eze's obviously more expensive than Sarr, and that goes the same for Newcastle, which is your mid 4. Gordon, Murphy or Bruno Guimaraes. I'm not too sure on Guimaraes, however I understand why a lot of people are. He's not really my type of player at fantasy football, but however he is playing very far forward in that Newcastle midfield.
That's
Tonali starting to sit a lot more.
When
Murphy's obviously you're right when you're on Gordon Gillette. For those that are wildcarding this week, obviously Gordon's suspended. If you can bring him in and bench him for a week, I've done that before. I think I might have even done it this season. Earlier on this season, didn't I? I think and I brought him in. And then I benched him because he was suspended. And then I got all of his. Nobody else brought him in when I did, and of course that's when he started his run of attack and returns. Might be a bit of a differential if you brought him in.
It would also be Midfield worthy 5, of note that that Gordon's obviously he's been sent back to Newcastle after injuring his hip playing for England, and how the severity of that hasn't been confirmed as yet. But as Jack said, he's suspended for game week 30 anyway, so that's a wait and see. But Jack said he's not moving on to Bruno Guimaraes since Tonali was switched to playing number 6 back in December. Bruno's been playing a lot further forward as a number 8 rather than being the 6 role, and he's getting more chances, getting more in the 6-yard box. Had a chance against Liverpool in the cup final, and he got the only goal of the game when we beat West Ham in the last week. But yeah, sorry, midfielder 5.
Well, no, I mean midfielder 5 really is sort of like up for fun. So, for example, you could have Murphy and Guimaraes. You could have Sarr and Eze. You could double up Palace and Newcastle. Or you could choose to go down the Bournemouth route, the Brighton route, or the Forest route. Now, obviously, that probably depends on FA Cup results. I.e., if Brighton beat Forest, they'll double, vice versa. And if Bournemouth beat City, they'll double. But they're all good options. Clive Semenyo, Gibbs, White, Hudson-Odoi, Elanga, Mitoma and Minte, although it is worth to note that Mitoma was rested for Japan and there are rumours of an injury there, so he might not be an option, but there's still plenty of options in there. And like I said, if you can't decide really there, then you could easily double up on the previous players that we've mentioned. Moving on to the forwards, I would say there are no musts in forwards. However, based on his fixtures and form, Isak is by far the biggest standout option. Obviously, with those with triple captain looking to use it in 32 would be a big draw for bringing him in. And then forward 2 is obviously Mateta based on his double in 32. Quite a difficult double. Matt and I were talking before the thing, saying that there's quite a difficult double for them, but they do have Southampton and Brighton in the 2 games previous. So there's plenty of points on offer for Mateta after he was cleared fit to play in the Fulham game, in the Cup game. So we'll see how he looks there. And then again, forward 3, City are very much likely to double in 33 based on the fact that either them or Villa have to win for them to double. And chances are Villa are obviously heavily favoured against their opponent. So Haaland and Marmoush. So over the last sort of 4 games, they've pretty much had exactly the same output with regards to goals and assists, and obviously one's half the price of the other. So if you wanted to go a bit differential, you can go Marmoush, but I expect Haaland to be in a lot of teams on Wildcard with obviously the Leicester fixture this week. Fenya's an interesting one. Wolves still have a very good fixture. He has seen his ban extended. So again, similar to like a Gordon, you could bring him in and keep him there. Waiting for when he comes back in 33, but I think at this point it's probably not worth it. Chris Wood, obviously, if Forest beat Brighton, they get a double. But again, it is worth mentioning that neither of those teams in Forest doubles are in Europe, so there's a chance that could get pushed further back in the season, as opposed to game week 33, and he has also just come off injured in international break, so there's a chance he might be out. João Pedro was like a last-minute ad from both of us, wasn't he? Because we realised all of a sudden that Brighton could double, and he has been consistently starting of late, and as of the number 9, and Welbeck's currently been dropped to the bench. So he's a very good option, and Evan Nilsson as well is a very good option. Watched the game in game week 29. I thought he was unlucky not to score, really. He had plenty of chances, and Bournemouth will create chances for him. So if that midfielder, that 5th midfielder spot, you decide to go for a Brighton or a Forest asset, then you can cover Bournemouth attack with the striker. Again, similar to what we were talking about on the goalkeepers and defenders, there are plenty of options for you not to have sort of double attack. But at the same time, with Palace and Newcastle likely to double in, well, definitely doubling in 32, and the chance of a double with Palace, probably best to get a couple of Palace assets and a couple of Newcastle assets.
We'll discuss that in our preview videos. But yeah, I think that's enough ramblings from these 2 FPL Affairs idiots. So if you've liked this video, please click the tick, subscribe to the channel, YouTube at FPL Affairs for all our existing videos, as well as any content that we plan to add weekly. There's likely to be certainly 2 or 3. There's a lot going on with chip strategies and so forth, which we're keen to put up. And other contacts, x.com, FPL Affairs, and Facebook group, FPL Affairs 2. So, yeah, please get in touch, and any comments about this video or questions you would like answering. Jack, final thoughts?
No, if you do want to know what our wildcard draft looks like for this week, tune into this later this week's video.
Okay. All that's left to say is, well, not the usual line, because that's not really relevant for the our idiots guide. So hope it's helped, and bye for now.